Yeah, man, I'll tell you what, that dang old internet, man, you just go on there and point and click it and talk about www. Call me, you got that.
For some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Well, for my money, he's got all the facial characteristics of a criminal.
Now, here's your host, that gravy-sopping, crappie-flopping, stump-jumping, Bible-thumping, gun-toting, mater-growing son of a gun, the Backwoods Baptist himself, Pastor Harold Smith.
Man, that is good coffee. I picked that up when I was out in Virginia back probably in March. That is Amish pecan. I got it at the Amish store. I don't know if the Amish have anything to do with coffee beans, and I'm not big on flavored coffees, but you give me a Southern pecan coffee, and I mean, I don't know. I like it. I like Cameron's. That Amish pecan's pretty good too. Welcome to the Backwoods Baptist Podcast. It's so good to see you. It's good to be home. It's good to be in my office, sitting next to my bear skull with my bookshelf behind me. People always ask me what that skull is on the shelf behind me. That's one of the 3 bears that I've killed. I bleached out the skull and it sits on my shelf. And that big bone up above me, if you're watching on YouTube, that is a giraffe shin bone that has had the 5 dangerous animals of Africa carved into it. My dad killed a giraffe, had that made for me. Probably the best thing he's ever killed and given to me that I'm really proud of. So anyways, it's good to have you with us on the broadcast. You too might be a Backwoods Baptist if you've ever brought squirrel to a potluck, or you've ever had a church that had squirrel at a potluck. That's not uncommon in the backwoods where I live at to have wild game there. And it's the season. It is that time of year when our muzzleloader season opens tomorrow. And so, I've got my stand set up out there. I've got my shooting lanes cut. I've had my cameras out getting pictures of deer. I'm all ready. But today I shot my muzzleloader, made sure it was still sighted in, and then I started counting up how many muzzleloading bullets I had. And then I started looking at how much powder I had, and I wanted to make sure that I had enough to get load and get one shot and then something to reload with. That way, if I missed or I get a chance at 2, I wanted to make sure I had enough ammo. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Ammo. No, not powder and bullets and brass. We're going to talk about the lowly gospel tract. I think evangelism, personal evangelism, where people go out and share the gospel, I think modern day professing Christians in America are probably at an all-time low in their evangelistic efforts. We've kind of said evangelism is the job of the pastor or the deacons or the Sunday school teacher, or somebody has that responsibility, not us. You go share your faith. We'll just put our money in the plate and be faithful givers. But I want to tell you, it's easy to share your faith with a gospel tract. And I know there are a lot of weird gospel tracts out there. And just to be quite honest with you, there are a lot of gospel tracts I wouldn't hand to somebody. I mean, I just wouldn't. It's not representative of the faith I believe. It's kind of silly. Some of them are like cartoonish, especially at Halloween. I always remember the Trick or Treat by Jack Chick. And it was like a Grim Reaper looking guy on the front. And I knew people that gave these out at Halloween. We'd go trick or treating as a kid. You'd always get a couple gospel tracts, and they would always be geared to scaring you into making a profession of faith of Christ. Well, I don't want to scare anyone into making a profession of faith, but I do handle a lot of gospel tracts because I think there's simple ways to share the gospel. I think they do things we can't do in person. And the last track order I got this little pamphlet from them called 100 Reasons and Ways to Use Tracts, and 50 Reasons to Use Tracts. And it gives a bunch of good reasons. I won't read you all 50, but tracts are easy to give to another person with a smile and some encouragement to read them. Tracts go inside homes and stay. You can't. Tracts never flinch or show fear. Tracts are not expensive. There's a 50 good reasons. And then it gives you good ways to give them away. You can put them in gifts. Christmas is coming up, and you can put them in stockings. It's Halloween. You know, if you're in a good neighborhood, you could give away 100 tracts Halloween night. Don't give away just tracts, give away candy and tracts. But you could take them to hospitals when you're visiting hospital patients or nursing patients. Leave them at laundromats. There's virtually endless places to hand them out or ways to distribute them. So that got me thinking, why don't more people give out tracts? You know, when I pastored Lee Creek, I had a track rack at the front of the church, and I kept it stocked. And I occasionally it'd look a little dusty, get some cobwebs on it. And I'm like, nobody's giving out tracts. So I would tell them, hey, look, everybody get a tract and take it home. Or, you know, you're all going out to eat. When you leave your tip, you leave your $5, your $10, whatever it is, your $1. If you just had a hamburger at McDonald's, whatever it is, you leave it there and leave a tract with your tip in it. They'll pick up the tract if the tip is sticking out of the tract. So I would encourage people to spread the gospel that way. But like I was saying, getting ready for muzzleloading season tomorrow, you've got to have ammo. And so I carry my ammo in this box with lid that flips shut, so they don't get all bent up and beat up, and they don't look like like you picked them up off the floor. They're nice. They're well kept. They're in a box, and there's a good selection in here. So what I'll do is I just keep this sitting behind the seat in my truck. And now that it's there, anytime I'm going somewhere, I know I have right there in my access, a tract. I don't normally buy coffee from a coffee shop, but I got a gift card for Father's Day. And so I thought, well, I'll go by and I'll get one of these fancy coffees because I got this gift card. When I went by, I gave the lady a tip and a tract. And I mean, you would have thought I gave this lady a $10 bill. I didn't. I just gave her a couple bucks, but I gave her a tract. She laid the $2 down, but she took the tract and she was looking at it. And she was like, that's so sweet. No one's ever given me anything like this. Well, what is it? It's this right here. And what it says is you matter more than your image. And if you turn it a little bit, you matter more than likes. And if you turn it a little bit, you matter more than your wealth. And these are like holographic. And I've got a bunch of these. And I'm going to tell you, if you want a tract that people will take, get one of these that are holographic. Here's one that's an American flag. I got these from Moments with the Book. But look at this. See, when it moves, it looks like, if you're listening online, these are business card size tracts. And when you move them, they give two different messages, or they move. I've got a whole bunch of these. And here's one that says, I have great news. And it's like an airplane pulling a flag. And if you move it, the clouds move. It looks like the airplane's flying. These are business card size tracts. On the back is a basic gospel message, just outline, point, boom, boom, boom. It's simple. But people will take these out of your hand because they're interesting. Kids love them. I've never offered one of these to a kid that he didn't just snatch it out of my hand like I offered him a candy bar. These are great. Now, the easy thing about these, you can get you one of these little, I don't know what you call these, business card holders. These things will fit in your shirt pocket. They're thin, they're metal, they have a little flip open lid, and they'll hold, 7 or 8 business cards. Well, I've got one right there. I've also got some of my business cards in there. It says church revitalization and pastor support, and it says missionary pastor Harold Smith. Got the support address if you want to reach me. Got my email address. And on the back, it says Backwoods Baptist, a podcast hosted by Harold Smith, examining issues facing the church today with an open Bible and a heaping helping of country fried common sense. So when someone asks for a business card or my email and I give them this, I'm also advertising the podcast, and that's good. Not because the podcast needs advertising, but I'm discussing the gospel on here and how to get it out and other practical things facing the church today. And so we should be desiring to lead people to a position where they are going to find more information about God, about his word, and about his church. Another thing, these are just little self-inking stamps. You can get a 2 or 3 line stamp like this one here. You just push it down, it stamps. You can get these for about $8 or $9. I think I got these from, it wasn't Vistaprint. I don't know. Stamps.com, I think, something like that. Get online and just type in custom self-inking stamp. What you want to do is get one of these and put your church's website on there, your church's address, something that identifies the tract that you're passing out with where you go to church or where you want them to find information. Whether this one says Backwoods Baptist Podcast, they could log in, find me, contact me. I could put them in touch with a church because I give these tracts out everywhere I go. You may want one of these. We have these for First Baptist Roland, where I'm pastor. We've had these for Lee Creek. I recommend every church just get a small stamp. You can go through there and stamp these. Now, when we talk about tracts, not all of them are the eye-catchy little business card size. You can give out more substantial tracts. This one is from Chapel Library, a good source for free Christian literature. And this one says Professing Christians Warned. And it's a couple, probably 4 or 5 good paragraphs for, to pass out for someone to read. Here's another one that says The Sin of Unbelief. And these are just colored paper, all one. I mean, there's no pictures. It's just reading. Here's one by Horatio Bonar, 1808 to 1889, says A True Confessor and the False. And I'm going to take one of these out just so you can see it and you kind of see what you're handing out here. If you don't want to give out a business card size tract with a bullet point gospel in it, give out something more substantial. This one has 1, 2. Let me see here. Look how long this is. This is a half sheet of paper, front and back. Looky there. All of that material is on there. You've given someone a basic sermon. Okay. So you're giving them something substantial to read. And then right there, that's a stamp on the back. That's a round stamp, says FBC Roland, Oklahoma, has our web address on there. These are things you can just hand somebody. And I want to say, get a plurality of tracts. My Reformed buddies are always talking about plurality of elders. Get yourself a plurality of tracts. I'm going through my ammo box here. Okay. I'm pulling out tracts that I use often. I don't always go around dropping off these, no pictures and just big, long theological treaties, but I have several of them. Have you truly come to Christ? I mean, you can get these by old people like Charles Spurgeon that have been dead and gone, or you can get them by modern writers. With these, you could really print your own. It's not that hard. Here's another one by Thomas Boston that he lived in the 1600s. You Must Be Born Again. There again, same size tract. Those are free from Chapel Library. And then I've got some nicer ones that are also older. This is from Tract Planet. This is one side, it says A Ticket to Heaven. This is a little piece of cardstock, and it looks like a ticket booth, and it's signed by Charles Spurgeon on the bottom, and it says number 777, one passage, not valid if detached. Free ticket, admit one, and it's got a barcode. You can scan that, and it'll take you to a fuller gospel explanation. You turn over the free ticket to heaven, and it is a ticket to hell. Admittance one. And it's kind of the opposite of the front. And I really think Charles Spurgeon originally wrote these. But the point I'm making is these things are colored well. They're shiny. They look good. They don't look like something you made on a home computer or with Windows 98. I mean, they're well done. And since they're well done, people are prone to take them. And I will say one thing, the little code, I don't know what you call that, the little square IR code, I think is what it's called. Those, I'm in the process of having tracts made that will take you to a website that I'm having made where I actually write out a pretty full explanation of the gospel of Jesus Christ. But I'm showing you a plurality of tracts. One of the things, if you're going to deal with kids like at Christmas, and you don't want to spend a little bit extra money for the holographic ones that have things moving on them and say different messages on the front, these $1 million bills, there's like probably 24 different kinds of $1 million bills. The originals look like this one here. If you're not watching online, this is Ben Franklin. It looks like $100 bill, but it says $1 million. It's got Ben Franklin on the front, and then you turn it over and it's got a gospel on the back. I've given away countless $1 million bills. Some of them had Charles Spurgeon's head on them. Some of them had Joel Osteen's head on them, like a cartoon of Joel Osteen. If you're giving them out to kids, these dinosaur ones are good. We're going to have trunk or treat at church and the parking lot, and we have dinosaur ones. We have Star Wars $1 million bills with I don't know what them Star Wars people, the white dudes that never can hit anything they're shooting at, the white robots. It's got a couple of them on the front and like lightsabers. Kids love that because that's who they are. We got one on the Headless Horseman. I think it's like, I don't know, something like that. Those say $1 million on them. Kids think they're cool. I'm talking about little kids, 14, 15 down. Now I've given them to adults that think they're cool. I mean, I've actually had people see them in my shirt pocket. What do you got there? I hand them one. They're appreciative. So these are all small, concise ways to hand out the gospel, and they stay around. I mean, they may not be read instantly, but they'll be read later. If you just want to get a message out, maybe get some stickers made. I got these made from Sticker Mule. These are 2-inch stickers that say Backwoods Baptist on them. And if somebody sees that, what in the world's a Backwoods Baptist? They Google it, they find the podcast. Here's one from Baptist Publishing House. This is a 3-inch sticker. These stickers, you don't go around sticking them on stuff. The young kids like stickers. They put them on their laptops. They put them on their bicycles. A lot of people put them on the back glass of their car. So you're going to see a lot of those. Older people don't like stickers. They like fridge magnets. This says Backwoods Baptist. It is a fridge magnet. I mean, literally, you could stick that on the back of your car if you wanted to, or you could stick it on the fridge. I sent these to all of my supporters of my personal ministry when I mailed out the last newsletter. And what I was hoping to accomplish is that they would go stick it on the refrigerator, and then they would be reminded to pray for Harold Smith. They would go. I mean, how many times a day you go to the fridge? Don't answer that if you're in front of somebody. But all I'm saying is get your church's website, your church's logo. I want to say I caught these on sale. I got 50 of them for $19. So I think I bought 100 for $40. If that's encouraging someone to pray for you, if that's encouraging someone to look you up, to find out who you are, where you are, your church, doesn't have to be a gospel tract. It can be a sticker, it can be a fridge magnet. Okay, now I give away a lot of that kind of stuff, and I'll talk about how I give these away later. Right now, I just want to show you different things to get you thinking. My favorite thing to give away, if I'm talking to someone, is a booklet. A booklet has a lot more information, and a booklet you can give someone, and it's topic specific. This here is The Man That Split Time. This is 22 Proofs Jesus is God by Phil Johnson and Todd Friel. It's a nice booklet with a nice cover on it. I got these from Wretched Radio, and I got another one from Wretched Radio right here. This is by Tom Hammond. This is called Solving the God Puzzle. Now, if you've got someone that just doesn't believe Jesus is really God, this is the one you want to give them. If you got someone that has questions about God, give them Solving the God Puzzle. And with this one, it says you can know with certainty that God exists. So you might start with this one, prove there is a God, and then prove that Jesus Christ is his son. These are small. Man, I don't have anything. Yeah, I might have a tape measure here. No, I don't. I would guess these are 3 inches by 5 inches. They're just small booklets. I don't know how many pages they have in them. 45 pages. 48 pages. That's what they have. So 50 page, just call them 50-page booklets. They've got a attractive cover on them. I give these away a lot. You don't have to get them from Wretched Radio. Here's a booklet on decisional regeneration by James E. Adams. I got this also from Chapel Library. It's probably 6 by 3, but it fits in my ammo box, my little box I keep in the truck. And if someone is talking about, well, you know, I signed a card, I prayed a prayer, I raised my hand, I bowed my head, I repeated after him, but did anything happen? So I keep these in the church so that when I'm counseling people after church, if they come up and they have a question, I can just walk over to the track rack and say, here, this will explain further what we've been talking about, or this will give you some Bible verses to look up. I don't know how many of these I have. Really, I've got a bunch of booklets. Here's a good one. And this is from a different company. This is from Revival Literature. And this is Biblical Salvation by James Stewart. James Stewart's been passed away for years, but he wrote a great little booklet on what it truly means to be saved. There again, this is like 3 inches, 4 by 6, something like that. Small booklet. You can get it from them. So also, I have another one here by J.C. Ryle, Only One Way. Talks about there not being many ways to God, but one. I got this from Chapel Library. I usually have some other booklets in here. I'm just not seeing them. Maybe I've just ran them down. I have one on suicide, one on anxiety. Just not seeing them. I also have a business card of the church with a picture of First Baptist Roland on the front. And it's got our address and says First Baptist Roland in big letters. And you can see the church that way. If you're driving by, I've seen that church. So you can see it there. And then on the back, it has a basic gospel. Sin is our problem. Jesus Christ provided the solution. And it's just, it's basic, but it gives them enough information to say, I need to know more about this. You can get those through Vistaprint that print business cards, depending on how fancy you want to make them and how many you want to order. I want to say I got 200 of them, printed them front and back on fairly nice paper with rounded corners for like $65. So anybody can have a custom tract. You put whatever picture you want on. Yeah, here's what I was looking for. Here's some more booklets that I give away. What Time is Purple by Tom Hammond, also from Wretched Radio, as where I ordered those. I don't know exactly who the printer would be, but that's where I got them. And then, you know, I've got some of these reproductions. Another James Stewart. I got this one from Revival Literature. You can find those guys online as well. Redeemed Counsel for New Christians. There's a good one. So you got a new Christian, also from Revival Literature, a booklet. So you're giving them some material. And guys, then, you know, I've got a bunch of just single folded pieces of paper. Here's one on the Spirit and the Christ, or the Spirit and Christ, Chapel Library. The Christian Life and How to Live It, Road Building for Revival series. This is a good booklet, also from Revival Literature. I've got several in here. This one's by Dr. Ray Bearden, The Essentials of Salvation, walks you through that, also from Revival Literature. This is one that I really think does a good job of getting people to think seriously about their salvation if they're truly saved. It's called Ultimate Questions by John Blanchard. It's a little bit bigger booklet, but also got these through Revival Literature. So what have I shown you? Let me set this box down. So what have I shown you in the first 20 minutes or so? This is basically it. Tracts come in all shapes and sizes. You can get stickers, you can get magnets, you can get small postcard size, you can get even smaller business card size. You can give away $1 million bills that have attractive pictures on the front. You can get these holographic cards that have a moving message on the front. You can get the booklets, bigger booklets. I mean, man, if you want to give away books, I don't care. The point I'm driving at is give something away. Well, Brother Harold, I'm just afraid to go out and engage with this crazy world today. I know I am too. They're nuts. I'm telling you, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't try to kill you. I'm serious. They're nuts. I'm not going to argue with anybody. This world is nuts. But I'll say this, no one's ever threatened to kill me for giving out a tract. I've never offered somebody a tract and they're like, you God, you Christian, you Christ proponent, death to Christ. They might do that in some parts of the world, but they haven't done it in Western Arkansas. But most of the time, I leave the tract, not most of the time, some of the time, I leave the tract with a tip. If you leave it with a tip, then here's what you're doing. You're giving them money and the gospel. You're giving them money and something Christian to contemplate. People, if you've been kind to them, this happens to us all the time. When we're eating somewhere and it's real busy, the waitress will say this or the waiter will say this. He goes, I appreciate you guys being patient with me. And I'll always say the same thing. When they compliment us on being kind, being patient, thanks for waiting, I'll say, that's okay. We're Christians. And they look at you weird. And I'm like, no, really. You see, I believe because Jesus Christ died for me, I got to treat you like Jesus Christ treats me, and he's patient. And so that kind of lets them know they're dealing with some weirdos. They're dealing with some Christians. Then when I leave, I'm leaving them a booklet, or I'm leaving them a tract of some kind with some money. Maybe I don't leave cash. Maybe I've added it to the card. I put that receipt in there and I lay the pen on top of it. They have to pick it up. You can do that every time you eat out somewhere. A lot of times these business card size, I use these for bookmarks. I try to read my Bible and other religious books in public. I don't necessarily go out and eat breakfast a lot, but I will go out and maybe just drink coffee if I'm somewhere where I, can't be around the house. I'll go in a McDonald's where a bunch of old men sit in the morning and drink coffee. I'll get 2 tables over from them. I'll open my Bible up. I'll sit in there and read my Bible, eavesdrop on their conversation. Sometimes people will come up, what are you reading? Are you reading your Bible? And I'll strike up a conversation because I'm publicly reading the word. I'm not reading it out loud. I'm just reading it. People take notice of that. Then when I leave my bookmark, which happens to be a gospel tract there. Sometimes I go in and I will read one of these booklets. And when I get done reading the booklet, I will leave it there and put my tray up. That's a common way. Whoever's cleaning, whoever's sitting down, somebody's going to see that. They'll spot it. They'll pick it up. And when they pick it up, it's usually stamped with some kind of address or web address that will take them to where they could get more information if they want it. That's non-combative. You haven't offended anyone. They may grab it and throw it in the trash. Well, what have you lost? A couple pennies? It's really no big deal. Another thing I do is I walk at the mall, and I do this probably 3 days a week. I walk in there and I'll have a couple of tracts, probably 3 or 4 on me. And there are places where people congregate. The little chairs in the mall that rub your back, you put your credit card in there and it's like $3 for 3 minutes or something. And the chair makes you, people just sit in those chairs just to sit because they're sick of their wife spending too much time in Dillard's. Say amen right there. But while they're sitting there, I'll lay one of these tracts there. And I've observed this. I've laid the tract, not while they're sitting there. When no one's there, I'll drop a tract off, especially one of these. I'm telling you, I have people take these holographic tracts out of your hand. I'll lay one down that says you matter more. And they'll look at it and pick it up and they'll start tilting it and they'll kind of grin. I've seen them do it multiple times. And they'll turn it over and they'll start reading the back. Now, sometimes they read the back and they just kind of roll their eyes like, oh, it's Christian literature. Sometimes they read the back and stick it in their pocket. That's what I want to happen. So leave them one at a time, maybe 1 or 2. I mean, don't walk out and throw them in the street. You're littering, don't go throwing them all over somebody's business. 1 or 2 here and there. You've planted the seed. You've walked off. You've left it. That right there will do the Lord's work. You've given the printed word. You've cast your bread on the water, so to speak. You've allowed God to send it out, and wherever it goes, and whatever it accomplishes is in the Lord's hands. You purchased the tract, you delivered the tract. Now, I have stood out there as people walk by and said, "Here, ma'am, would you like one of these? Or did you get one?" That's usually what you say. Did you get one? And you stick it out, and they'll say no, because they haven't gotten anything yet. And then they'll get it. Now, sometimes they'll take 2 steps and throw it in the trash, but sometimes they'll stick it in their purse or put it in their wallet or their shirt pocket. You can hand out tracts. I would encourage you to do that. You can hand out booklets. I would encourage you to do that. But if you don't have an ammo box full of them, full of whatever you choose to give out, if you're not ordering these things and you're not keeping them in your car, you're not going to have them when you go out to eat. You're not going to have them when you go to the mall. You're not going to have them when you're walking in the park. You're not going to have them when you need them. When you encounter someone that's struggling in some way, I've picked up people walking when it was about to pour down rain. I pulled over and said, "Y'all get in the car." It's a bunch of teenagers. I said, "Y'all get in the car." And I drove them about 5 or 6 blocks. And they were like, "Man, thank you so much. We were going to get soaked." I mean, there was no way around it. They were fixing to get soaked. I pulled up there. I reached in my ammo box. I said, "Here, take these with you." And I handed each one of them a booklet on different things. Usually with kids, nearly all kids today struggle with anxiety and depression. Suicide is increasing among teens and early 20s as they find out the real world's not the way they envisioned it. So what I would encourage you to do is get some ammunition that answers their questions. Get some ammunition that deals with issues they face. You ask a 20-something-year-old in college, "You ever struggle with depression and anxiety?" 99% of them will say, "Yeah." Who don't? That's what most of them say. Who doesn't? And I will say, "Here, this might help." And I'll give them a booklet on anxiety. I'll give them a booklet on depression. And all it does is take them to the Word of God and say, "Here's the answers to life's questions." If you don't have it on you, you can't give it out. So you can leave them in public places. You can hand them out individually. You can put them in stockings. You can give them out at Halloween. You can mail them off with gifts. You can send them off with your utility bills if you're mailing those out. You can send tracts, and they're not going to burn your house down for sending out a tract, but the gospel's going to go where you can't. The lowly gospel tract is an important tool in the arsenal. It's not the only tool. It's not the only way I share the gospel, but it's a good way that we all can share the gospel. It does things we can't do. So I'm encouraging you, please get yourself some tracts. Here's where I would go to get them: Gospel Tract Planet, Moments with the Book, Revival Literature, and Chapel Library. I get tracts from those groups regularly. Chapel Library, you can order $20 worth of their material every month free of charge. They will mail you $20 worth of their material. Everything you're ordering from them has a price. I would go through there and pick out a few things. What you like, order more. What you don't like, don't order again. Moments with the Book, really all I get from them, I've got their other tracts. I'm not real impressed with Moments with the Book's tracts, but I don't know anybody else with the holographic ones that do this. And if you want to give stuff to kids, Moments with the Book. If you want to give stuff to 20-somethings that'll just thank you for doing something nice for them, these little tracts, just a way of disarming people. I mean, I've seen people with nose rings, eye rings, earrings, wicked looking tattoos with all kinds of cuss words tattooed on their arm. You hand them a tract with a flower blooming on the front or clouds coming out in the smiling sunshine, they'll grin at you and take it. I've seen it time and time again. So if you want those, Moments with a Book is where you would order those. If you want the Gospel Tract Planet, I've gotten a lot of tracts from them over the years. If you want those, by all means, that's where you would get your $1 million bills, and they have a large selection of those. Those are really good with kids. If you're going to think about something for Halloween, that's where I would recommend. And you've got time to get those ordered and probably get them. Today is the 20th. I'm going to try to upload this tonight. That would give you 11 days to get it here before Halloween. So you could jump on there and order those. May even have to pay a little bit more for shipping, but you'd be giving a lot of gospel out. And then booklets. I get those through Wretched Radio. That's Todd Friel's ministry that he operates. They have a lot of tracts and booklets. I like the booklets and revival literature. My good friend in revival literature, Brandon Harrell, he has just sent me a number of different booklets to look at, to evaluate. And if you want something more substantial, you want something more theologically robust, a booklet is the way to go. And there's other sources out there. These are just the ones I use. Get you some tracts, pass them out, leave them in public places, leave them with tips, send them as gifts, send them with gifts, share the gospel. It's easy. It's a worthy message. And Christ hasn't commissioned anyone to share the gospel except his church. And if you're a child of God, you've got an obligation to share the gospel. And a tract is a good way to do it. Get you an ammo box, put it in the car, load it up with gospel tracts. And when you go through the drive-through, give them your money and give them another $1 and say, ma'am, here's $1. I appreciate you working. You know, we live in a day where people don't want to work. They want to stay home and draw a check, and you're in here working, and I appreciate that. Here's $2. Go buy yourself a Coke on me at your next break. I give them that, and I give them a tract that says your work, you matter more than your likes, your image, and your wealth. Or I'll say it's a sunny day serving the Lord Jesus Christ, and I show them one with the clouds parting and the sun coming out. I'm telling you what, they grin, they take it, they thank you. You can do that. It's not that bad. You do it 2 or 3 times, you'll be doing it 20 or 30 times. Make it a habit. Do it the rest of your life. When you die and go to heaven, you may look around and see several people there that got saved because someone gave them a gospel tract and they believed on the Lord Jesus Christ. Thanks for tuning in today. If you want to reach me, backwoodsbaptistpodcast@gmail.com, or I have a Facebook page, the Backwoods Baptist Podcast. It's the only social media I have. I've gotten all off of all other social medias, deleted all those accounts. I have one Facebook account in which I can upload material to, and I don't follow anybody back. I don't track anything. It's just a way to put that information there. So Backwoods Baptist Podcast at Gmail. Find us on Facebook. Until then, thank you guys for listening. I'll catch you on the next podcast.